Morning glory and evening grace, America. Hugh Hewitt in Studio West. You know, I always like you to listen or watch as you prefer, but if you have a chance right now to turn on the Salem News Channel on Pluto TV or on your YouTube, wherever, you're going to watch the video that we are about to play for you, because my guest is John Ondrasik, singer-songwriter and friend extraordinaire. There he is. John and I were just talking on Friday night last about how much I admired the fact that he would use his gifts for good causes like freedom in Ukraine and freeing the hostages. Then he dropped a new video that I was unaware of, a new Superman cut. John, welcome. Tell us about Alon. I don't know anything about him except what I looked up after I saw you had done this and how you got involved in this.
Well, first, Hugh, I have to say I love your new hours. When it's daylight when I talk to you. But,
you and me both, John.
Yes.
You and me both.
I bet, buddy. A couple weeks ago, Alon Oel's mother and her team reached out to me. Alon is a hostage in Gaza, 557 days. He turned 23, 24 years old in captivity. He's also a wonderful piano player. And she asked if I would do some kind of musical collaboration with her to bring awareness to her son's plight and all the hostages' plight in Gaza. And of course, I was honored to do so. It became clear very quickly that Superman should be that song, certainly with its historical nature and recognizing the heroes of 9/11. Of course, October 7th is Israel's 9/11. The fact that I played Superman a year ago this week in Hostage Square on Alon's piano. His piano is sitting in Hostage Square, and people just walk by and play it. And I played it there. And then they sent me a picture of him at 8 years old in his Superman jammies. And that really broke us all down. But certainly I'm honored to support them with this new version. We changed a few lyrics to recognize the fortitude of the hostage families. And fortunately, it's going global right now. And thanks to folks like you, that's why it's happening.
We're going to play it in a minute. I went and looked up some background on Alon Ohel after John released this video. His mom gave an interview to the Times of Israel recently. Alon, quote, has shrapnel in his eye, he has shrapnel in his shoulder, he has shrapnel in his arm. Alon has been bound in chains this entire time, has had almost no food, at most one pita a day over a very, very, very long time, more than a year. An anguished Edith Ohel told Channel 12 at the time. So he's in danger of losing his eyesight, which, of course, for a musician, unless you're Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles, is a disaster. And it just brings home an additional human element of this story. How was it to work with Edith? Because that's getting in there close, John. That's digging into the darkness of grief pretty closely.
You know, it's tough. You know, when I went to Israel, I met with many hostage families, and I actually had my son with me, Johnny. He's 24, and I'm sitting with them, and their kids are my son's age, and I can only imagine the agony they go through every day. I was working with Rachel Goldberg when Hirsch was murdered, and we still just, I get sick to my stomach thinking about that. And when you talk to the hostage families, you have these two emotions. You're sad, you're broken for their suffering. You're also infuriated and you're angry that it's an outrage of humanity that here we are 557 days with these people in captivity. It just makes you so angry. So you try to talk to them with optimism and respect, and you know, you certainly don't ask them how they are, because you know how they are. But I'll tell you, I've never seen people who have more spiritual fortitude and perseverance than these hostage families. They are superhuman. And this song, I think, really reflects on them. And that's why I think Superman was the perfect choice.
All right, let's play it now, and I'll come back and talk with John at its conclusion. Can you play it, Harley, please?
This is for Alon, all the hostages and their families. May they be home soon. I can't stand to fly. I'm not that naive. I'm just out to find the better part of me. I'm more than a bird, I'm more than a plane, more than some pretty face days beside a train, and it's not easy to be me. Wish that I could cry, fall upon my knees, find a way to fly to a home I will soon see. It may sound absurd, don't be naive. Even heroes have the right to bleed. I may be disturbed, won't you concede? Even heroes have the right to dream, and it's not easy to be me. Up, up, and away, away from me. Now it's alright, you can all sleep sound tonight. I'm not crazy or anything. I can't stand to fly, I'm not that naive. Men weren't meant to ride with clouds between their knees. I'm only a man in a funny red sheet, digging for kryptonite on this one-way street. Only a man, a funny red sheet, looking for special things inside of me, inside of me. Inside of me, inside of me, inside of me. I'm only a man in a funny red sheet, only a man looking for a dream, only a man in a funny red sheet. It's not easy. It's not easy to be me.
So Alone Ohel is right now in the tunnels of Gossard, hostage for more than a year and a half. I am now looking forward, John Ondrasik, to you and he playing together. Did you and Edith talk about that?
We certainly did, and in that video, that is his brother playing Superman at Alone's piano, and I think we all believe that day is going to happen, and I will be sitting at that piano with Alone on one side, his brother Ronan on his other side, his family, and all the hostages. May they be home soon. And thank you, Hugh. You've been front and center for our hostages from day one, from October 8th, 2023. The hostage families know that. They're grateful for that. And everybody who supports them, I appreciate it.
Yeah, John, it's not hard to talk about it. It's harder to go there and do what you did and be with the hostages. I've only talked with Rachel and Mr. Goldberg over video and calls. You spend time with them. I have to steel myself for those conversations. How have you done that?
You know, you just do it. I don't, I think about what they do. How do they wake up every day?
Right.
And have the strength? Like Rachel Goldberg is just a superhuman person. And the fact now that after what happened to her, she advocates for other hostage families. You know, we've seen the worst of humanity since October 7th, but you see the best of humanity in these people who have suffered the imaginable. And I think about, boy, if they can deal with this every day, I can kind of walk in and have a conversation and sing a song.
Have you read Douglas Murray's new book yet?
I have it on my desk, Hugh. I know we've been talking about it, and talk about the voice of wisdom for the culture. It is
the first
fantastic.
The first line applies to you. Sometimes a flare goes up and you see exactly where everyone is standing. And John Ondrasik is standing on the right side of this and singing, which is something not many of us can do, and playing and doing great songs. Thank you, John. May the video go viral. I'm glad to have a little help in pushing it along. And our love to the entire Edith and her entire family, her daughter, her other son, and of course, Alon in the tunnels, and to their father. I'll be right back, America. Stay tuned. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Bethany Mandel is the author of Stolen Youth. She is also the founder of the Mom Wars at themomwars.substack.com. And I'm sure she's relieved Passover is behind her. Hello, Bethany.
No, it's not.
I thought it was over today.
The Seder's are behind. No, oh God, no. The Seder's are behind me, but I have another 5 days of this nonsense. I'm so hungry.
Oh, I didn't know that. So, look, my multiculturalism has its limits. I'm getting ready for Good Friday and Easter. So tell me what you have to do after the Seder's.
We still can't eat real food for another, I don't know, until Sunday night. I'm so hungry.
Oh, I can't ever be a Jew. I can't be a Jew.
I can't either. This is the limits. On Sunday, imagine this. I will have gone 8 days without eating anything resembling good food, and you will be sitting down to eat ham and Peeps, and I don't know. Why did I do this to myself? I don't know.
Well, there are other rewards. There are other rewards. Let's get very serious. I just had John Ondrasik on. We played his Superman video. Very moving. Alana's very moving story. Now, I don't take part in domestic politics in Israel, and I know there's a divide between the families and the government, but I am more persuaded that the government is right. The only way to deal with hostages is to push them to the wall. What are they saying about the latest offensive that Mark Montgomery briefed me on at the beginning of the program, Bethany?
The families are pretty frustrated. The family of Eden Alexander, the sole living American hostage that's left, went on Newsmax today, or maybe it was News Nation, and they were very frustrated that they feel like there's no plan from the Israeli government. That said, I'm not sure what the Israeli government can do, because Hamas has turned down an Egyptian ceasefire deal and an Israeli ceasefire deal. So I don't know where you go from here.
I think all they can do is to keep killing Hamas terrorists until the remaining terrorists want a deal and want a white flag. They call Grant unconditional surrender Grant, and it worked at Vicksburg. It was awful, but it worked, and finally it worked at Appomattox. I don't think they will ever do a deal, Bethany. They don't even have a command structure left to agree to one.
Yeah, so I was talking to an insider earlier this week, actually, who is familiar with what's going on, and basically the brother of Sinwar, and he's another Sinwar, is holed up in a tunnel and will basically not say yes to any deal, and so they're really at an impasse until they can take him out. I imagine that he's probably surrounded by hostages. I had a meeting with Netanyahu last week also. And, the basic feeling is that Israel is being very careful because they're surrounding themselves with hostages and they don't want to be responsible for the deaths of hostages. And so, Israel's in a really catch-22 tough situation.
Now, I do believe, it's my very firm belief, that Trump has told Netanyahu, whatever you need to do. He's not going to pressure him to return relief supplies to Gaza, which immediately are taken over by Hamas and then sold on the black market or consumed by themselves. Is that your understanding, that there is no daylight at all between Israel and the United States?
That is my understanding, and talking to people on both sides, from the Israeli side and the American side. And I think that is a real pressure point, because the more unrest that happens in Gaza, the more unpopular Hamas becomes. And with that unpopularity, the hope is that someone will narc and say, this is what it is, take him out.
What about Mr. Witkoff? I know he's not the favorite of the commentary podcast. I have no judgment, because I think developers are pretty good at this sort of thing. Do you think they can triangulate here and say to Iran, you can buy yourself a little more time before the bombs fall if you lean on Hamas to let the hostages go?
I share a lot of the concerns about Witkoff that my husband, I think he has. I don't talk to him about anything but children. Yeah. So I share with those concerns. At the same time, I have probably more confidence because Witkoff has pulled it off previously. We saw the release of, I think, 24 hostages in January, including 2 American citizens, Keith Siegel and Sagida Kochen. And so, we saw 2 Americans come home, and that was because of the work of Steve Witkoff. All of those returned hostages gave him that credit. So I'm hoping that he can pull it off again.
You see, I actually have a higher opinion of developers than most people do because I worked for them for 27 years. And they are pretty aggressive in closing a deal, but they won't get taken. They won't get taken. Bethany.
That's family are all developers.
Yeah. I want to change the subject. Was Passover different this year than last year, and the 2 years just complete than the year before?
There was a point during the Seder when we had, adults over that, we hit a point in the Seder and it says, they always rise up to try to destroy us and we will be victorious. And that hit differently this year. It hit differently last year. I mean, honestly, last year was very difficult knowing how many hostages were being held in captivity. And this year there's still 59 being held, 21 to 24 of whom are presumed to still be alive. And we had a photo of them, next to the table so that we could sort of keep them in mind and keep them in heart. But it's difficult, celebrating our freedom when there are fellow Jews and a fellow American who do not have that luxury.
Did it come up that last year Syria had not been devastated, Hezbollah had not been destroyed, and one hostage deal had not been done? Because there is progress Passover to Passover. In fact, this year was maybe the biggest defeat on Israel's enemies, including Iran, of any of my lifetime. I think greater than 73 and 67.
Yeah. No, I mean, yes. But at the same time, when you're sitting there talking about individual freedom and there are 59 individuals who do not have that because they are Jews, it's a hard pill to swallow.
I agree with that. Now, Bethany, when does Passover end?
Sunday night.
Okay, so it's Easter. So you get some chocolate and stuff. What do you do when Passover's over?
Pizza. In college, I went out and I binged on pizza and beer. And I remember throwing up all over the College Avenue and people thought I was drunk. And I was like, no, I went into gastric shock.
Wait a minute.
Real food.
This is going to stop conversion completely. It may even stop your enemies from wanting Israel. You can't eat pizza during Passover?
No, I am so
There's no meat in it.
No pasta, nothing. No, you can't eat anything leavened. No pasta, no bread, no pizza. I can't emphasize enough how hungry I am. It's just meat and potatoes.
I'm not going to tell you that I had a wonderful Trader Joe's pizza last night. I'm not going to do that to you, Bethany, but I appreciate. You know what? I'm just never going to be a Jew, and I'm never going to Seder. But I nevertheless say, never going to do it.
The Seder is good, and then it just goes on.
I went to Yom Kippur services one night in 1975 and was treated to a 45-minute rant about intermarriage. My friend Karen was so embarrassed. I was in college. It was a real eye opener. She said, "I'm sorry." I said, "Oh no, this is interesting. This is full frontal Judaism. Don't marry the Gentiles." Bethany, thank you. I hope you have a blessed Passover and you make it to Sunday and all the chocolate. Don't go anywhere, America. I'll be right back on the Hugh Hewitt Show.